The Unsung Kings, 7 underappreciated Formula One world champions. When we talk about Formula One history, we usually stick to the Mount Rushmore of the sport. We talk about the multi-time legends who dominated eras. But F1 is a cruel game. Sometimes you can beat the best in the world, lift that trophy, and history still finds a way to move past you. Today we're looking at 7 World Drivers' Champions who deserve a lot more credit than they usually get. From the men who survived the sport's deadliest eras to the one-hit wonders who were actually anything but. And yes, we're talking about the grit of Damon Hill and the pure class of Jenson. Not included though, but certainly the inspiration for today's video is current World Drivers Champion Lando Norris, who has generated a lot of hate for very little reason. But back to the list. And in no particular order. Number 7, Phil Hill, 1961 World Drivers Champion. We start with America's first champion, Phil Hill. His 1961 title is often dismissed because it was overshadowed by tragedy. His teammate and rival Wolfgang von Trips was killed at Monza, the very same race Phil won to clinch the title. The underappreciation comes when people often say he won because the Ferrari was dominant and his rival died. But Hill was a master of mechanical sympathy and one of the best endurance racers ever. He was a thinker in an era of daredevils, and his technical feedback was what made those Ferraris fast in the first place. Number 6, Denny Hulme, 1967. Imagine being teammates with the legendary Jack Brabham in a team called Brabham, and it was indeed named after Jack, and then beating the man to the title. That's what Denny the Bear Hulme did in 1967. Denny wasn't flashy, he didn't seek the limelight. In a decade defined by Jim Clark's raw speed, Hulme won through sheer consistency and grit. He was the first champion to win without a single pole position all season. He was not slow, he was just smart enough to know that you can't win if you don't finish. 5. Jody Scheckter, 1979. Before Michael Schumacher ended Ferrari's 21-year drought in 2000, the last man to win for the Scuderia was South Africa's and Africa's only world champion, Jody Scheckter. Scheckter is often forgotten because his teammate was the legendary and tragic Gilles Villeneuve. History remembers Gilles as the fastest and the most flamboyant, but Scheckter was the one who actually harnessed the speed into a championship-winning season. He completely reinvented his driving style from a wild youngster known as Sideways Scheckter to a disciplined champion, beating one of the most naturally gifted drivers in history in the process. 4. Damon Hill, 1996. The man who proved them wrong. Now we get to a controversial one, Damon Hill. For years critics said he only won because he had the best car. And Adrian Newey designed Williams. But let's look at the facts. Damon didn't start racing cars until he was 23. He actually preferred racing motorcycles. He fought his way up with no money. In 1994, he dragged the sport through its darkest hour after Senna's death. Nearly beating Schumacher for the title in 96, he finally took the crown. And he was partnered by Indy champion and 1997 F1 world champion Jacques Villeneuve. But Williams fired him anyway. Want proof he was elite? Look at 1997. In a backmarker Arrows, he nearly won the Hungarian Grand Prix with a brilliant drive. Hill wasn't just a car driver, he was a fighter who matured into a world-class operator. If you ask Frank Williams who his favorite driver was, he wouldn't say Senna, he wouldn't say Mansell, he'd say Alan Jones. Underappreciated, Jones was the epitome of Aussie grit. He was the man who turned Williams into a powerhouse. He was devastatingly fast, physically intimidating his rivals. He dominated 1980, but because he retired shortly after and didn't enjoy the media circus, his name wasn't brought up as often as Piquet or Prost. But in his prime, Jones was a benchmark for the grid. The Jenson Button, 2009. Jenson Button's 09 title with Brawn is one of the greatest fairy tales in Formula One history. No, in sports history. But for years people have claimed he lucked into a fast car and then hung on for dear life. The narrative ignores two things. One, Button's opening 6 wins in 09 were a masterclass in pressure management. Two, look at what he did after 09. He went to McLaren, Lewis Hamilton's back garden, and he didn't survive. He won races. He beat Lewis straight up in a season. He was a master in the rain. His win in Canada in 2011 is one of the greatest drives in Formula One history. Smooth style, yes, you think of Carlos Sainz, but you do not remember Jenson Button. He didn't always look like he was on the limit, but the stopwatch did not lie. He was a giant killer in disguise. Number 1. Keke Rosberg, 1982. Finally, we have the original Flying Finn, owner of the second greatest mustache in Formula One history. Keke Rosberg won the 1982 title with a single race win all season. People call 82 a fluke season, but Keke was driving a naturally aspirated car against turbos. He had to drive every lap like a qualifying lap just to stay in sight of the Ferraris and Renaults, and he won the title. He won that title through sheer unadulterated aggression and a refusal to give up. He was the ultimate street fighter of Formula One. Winning one Formula One World Championship is more than 99% of drivers will ever achieve, whether it's Button's silky smoothness, Hill's iron will, or Keke's magnificent mustache. These 7 men proved they were the best in the world, even if history doesn't always give them the loudest cheers. Who do you think is the most underrated champion? Did I miss someone? You think maybe Nigel Mansell is underrated? You think Nico Rosberg is underrated by people not called Rosberg? Let me know in the comments. Hit subscribe for more F1 deep dives, and I'll see you at the next checkered flag. God bless. Goodbye.